Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must say to my colleagues that after I filled the gallery and gave them the largest audience they've ever had in a long time, they all choose to leave after they have kept all my people here and me waiting for a long time. Now, no man or woman get up now, okay? Right, that's an order. Mr. Speaker, it is my greatest privilege to represent the hardworking and dedicated people of Central St. Catherine for the past 20 years. I thank them all for their love and confidence as we continue to work together to transform the constituency of Central St. Catherine. We will continue to rise, yes, and we will continue to keep the peace. I wish to thank my councillors, Theresa Turner, George Moody, and Kenesha Allen, for working with me as a team to bring about meaningful change in the constituency. I will be participating in the constituency debate, which comes later on in this year. And so, although there is so much to say, so many things to say right now, I will wait until that time to speak to all the achievements of the constituency of Central St. Catherine. I thank Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, for his confidence in allowing me to oversee and manage the portfolios of culture, gender, entertainment, and sport, which I refer to as For the Hard Way. I thank my colleagues in the Cabinet and in Parliament, my Minister of State, new kid on the block in my ministry, members of various boards and councils, the permanent secretary and staff of the ministry and its agencies, my close protection officers, and personal assistants for their unwavering support. Mr. Speaker, I must also acknowledge my family. And in the gallery is my daughter, Paula Surtees, and my granddaughter, Anna Surtees. And, Mr. Speaker, I must say I'm a proud great-grandmother. I have 2 great-grands. I also want to acknowledge the general manager of the Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, who is here in the gallery, and also the general manager for Jam Copy. I also wish to acknowledge former Senator, the first Rasta and only Rasta to serve in Parliament, real Rasta. Former Senator Barbara Blake Hanna. And when I say, Mr. Speaker, real Rasta, I'm speaking of a woman, an empress who was there from the beginning, a member of the delegation that went to Ethiopia to look at how Rasta could go back to Ethiopia in those days and those discussions. Tisha Shema, yes. Well, there are those who may have gone at that time, but they don't have the locks, they don't have the tradition, and they're certainly not living the life anymore of Rastafari. They've lost their way. What they've done now, they're part of this parliament, and they are living another life. So in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, we do have those who respect and honor Rasta. I also want to acknowledge Senator Karencia Morrison, who is somewhere in the precinct of the House, and Queen's Counsel Frank Phipps from the National Council on Reparations. There are many other notable individuals here this afternoon, and I want to thank them for staying around. I commend with pride the work being done by the many stakeholders, creative practitioners, artists, entertainers, cultural communities, sportsmen and women, gender specialists and activists, to keep the creative sector as the backbone of Jamaica's global identity. I welcome the many Jamaicans at home and abroad who are watching us live, and I'd say live and direct because that was really the title of the shows that I promoted in the early days until my friends on the other side took the slogan. And they're watching us on PBCJ and on my ministry's website. The ministry which I have the privilege to lead is committed to creating the environment for us to rise to even greater heights. The theme of my presentation, from branded to branding for sustainable prosperity, Brand Jamaica on the Rise, is born out of the most significant achievements of my ministry this past year, namely the passing of the act shortly titled the National Heroes and Freedom Fighters Absolution from Criminal Liability in respect of specific acts that came into force on March 5 this year. Our ancestors, Mr. Speaker, were forcibly removed from Africa, their homeland, and branded on arrival here in Jamaica. They were branded as property, branded to keep them in a state of absolute servility, and branded to see themselves as less than human. In passing the bill, we, the great-grandchildren, have redressed a great wrong by restoring their dignity and pride, and by acclaiming them to be celebrated freedom fighters. I'm humbled to be the minister who piloted this bill, and we all in this House should be proud that it is this Parliament which completed this long walk to justice for our ancestors. Each and every one of us in this chamber should take credit and be proud of this achievement. I must, however, acknowledge the fact that the President of the Senate, Tom Tavares Finson, initiated this bill, supported by Professor Vereen Shepherd, the Minister Bobby Montague, among others, and to thank the Attorney General for the support that she gave in ensuring that we were ready to take the bill. This must count as one of the proud moments in the story of a people who struggled for survival and mixed with all the races to create our unique, out of many, one people. Our unique vibe, our unique spirit, and our unique culture, heritage, and traditions. Our unique branding that has been monetized to bring revenues to our people and country. A branding that has allowed us to stand as equals on the great human stage of global achievement. A branding for sustainable prosperity. But we are called to go even further, Mr. Speaker. Despite the prominence and success of Brand Jamaica, many of our people still see foreign things as better and they value our own creations and our creators. Some only see our worth after foreign gives its stamp of approval. Just recently, we heard cries for justice from members of the entertainment industry. I have met with the practitioners, had discussions with the Minister of Tourism, and we are working towards a resolution. Other members of the creative sector are crying out for justice, Mr. Speaker. They are tired of being undervalued in this country that has, in many cases, provided the investment and the inspiration for what they do. They just want a little respect, Mr. Speaker. I pledge to continue to be the chief advocate, the chief cheerleader, the chief supporter, the chief motivator for our creative and athletic people, and will do all I can to ensure that they get the respect and recognition they deserve. Our creative and athletic people have done so much for this country. Not only do they bring honor and glory to Jamaica, but bring thousands of visitors to destination Jamaica. They're also responsible for the tremendous and impactful creative economy that has lifted so many of our people from poverty to prosperity. The creative economy is that part of the national economy that includes the cultural and creative industries, entertainment and sport, including the horse racing industry. It includes those sectors in which creativity and innovation play seminal roles in design and other elements of creation. It includes the creation of ringtones for download in the telecommunications sector. And those ringtones should be seen within the telecommunications sector as media arts. It includes hotel entertainment in the tourism sector, as well as the performing and the visual arts. And also the culinary arts, which my colleague Minister of Tourism markets as gastronomy. We are building a new relationship with our statistical agencies, Mr. Speaker, to develop systems, including the establishment of a satellite account to measure and publish the full value of Jamaica's creative economy. In the meantime, we have the results of several studies that have made what I consider to be very conservative estimates of the value of the creative sector. The Planning Institute of Jamaica commissioned business plan for Jamaican cultural and creative industries estimates, Mr. Speaker, that the creative sectors contribute 5.2% to the gross domestic product, generating revenue of between 15 to 20 million US dollars annually, and accounting for 3% of total employment. But this does not take into account employment in other linked sectors, such as hotel entertainers, chefs, and performers in film and television productions, such as Digicel Rising Star. It also does not include seasonal employment in relation to festivals and other events, such as Reggae Month, Carnival in Jamaica, the Jamaica Independence Festival, Rebel Salute, Reggae Sumfest, among others. Another study looked at the value of music alone, Mr. Speaker. The International Fund for Cultural Diversity 2017 report stated that, and I quote, in Kingston, Jamaica, the music sector, which today is worth an estimated 130 million US dollars, remains the driver of the local economy, employing around 43,000 people in this city of 660,000. That, Mr. Speaker, is real value which has a significant impact on communities and families. In 2016, JAMPO facilitated investments in the cultural and creative industries valued at $329.7 million in film and television projects under the Fiscal Incentives Act. And I hope the Minister of Finance is listening keenly. However, the economic credit was reflected in the accounts of industry and broadcasting. Broadcasting is media arts and not culture. Similarly, the uptake for Carnival in Jamaica and hotel entertainment is reflected in the accounts of tourism, while ringtones and creative products such as Magnum, Kings and Queens of Dancehall, are reflected on the telecommunications and broadcasting. This, Mr. Speaker, presents a distortion of the reality of the contribution of the creative economy to GDP, and we are working to correct that. We want our respect. We will never get the respect of recognition if we do not provide empirical evidence that we are a driving force, contributing significantly to Jamaica's economy. It is our priority to build the creative economy for this simple reason. And I must tell you, the OAS and the IDB and the World Bank, they refer to the creative economy as the orange economy. No. For me, orange is tangerine. Okay. Okay? All right. Now, the UNESCO publication in 2013 says, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, the creative economy is not only one of the most rapidly growing sectors of the world economy, but also a highly transformative one in terms of income generation, job creation, and export earnings. Many poor Jamaicans have been able to use their creativity to improve their lives, the lives of family members, and even their entire communities. I, Mr. Speaker, along with my team at the ministry, will continue to invest in finding and developing creative and athletic talent. This is how we will create the environment for growth in the creative economy and help many more Jamaicans to rise from
poverty
to prosperity.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, we have been investing in small business people living in communities close to the Blue and John Crow Mountains World Heritage Site. Our Economic Opportunities Workshop, conducted by the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, have been providing the entrepreneurial training and other types of support to enable them to take advantage of opportunities emanating from the World Heritage designation. More than 400 people in the parishes of Portland, St. Thomas, and St. Andrew have benefited from our workshops and are now set for takeoff. We're happy to have been able to provide grants totaling $1 million Jamaican dollars to 20 small businesses to give them that push. For example, Mr. Speaker, Millicent Henry, operator of the Spring Garden CDC winery in Portland, used the grant to acquire an industrial blender to puree fruits in the production of wines, as well as a gas stove and an industrial fan. Uriel Jackson from Leith Hall District in Port Morant, St. Thomas, operator of Kumina Culture, used his grant to purchase materials for the production of Kumina drums and for marketing initiatives. And Glenmark Bell, artist and operator of Portland Fine Arts, was able to use the grant to purchase raw materials and equipment for his fine arts studio. Mr. Speaker, I could list several others, but these are just examples of how we are creating the right environment for our creative entrepreneurs to succeed. I'm grateful to JSIF, to Hard Trust NTA, and the Jamaica National Group for their support in this initiative. Our focus is to help build out unique cultural merchandise. In the last 2 years, Mr. Speaker, there's been a marked improvement in tangible support to our various cultural and heritage communities, with focus on building out that unique cultural experience. We have increased funding support from $5 million to $11 million. The communities and activities are the Maroon Celebrations in a Compound, January 6th, is a hallmark heritage tourism activity supported by the JTB, and we have given them support. We have also given support to the other Maroon communities, that is Charlestown, Scotts Hall, and Moortown. But we have also given support to Indian Arrival Day commemoration activities, to Indian Jose celebrations, and Rastafari commemorative events such as the commemoration of the Carroll Gardens incident and the visit to Jamaica of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. As we continue to invest in our creative talent, I'm pleased to announce the establishment of the Jamaica Creative 100 program with funding of $26 million. This is to help with the further development of creative people across Jamaica who have imprinted their unique brand in the global marketplace or have the potential to do so. Through this program, we will fund short to medium-term projects to help small business entrepreneurs to create new products for the global marketplace or to enter new markets. These small business entrepreneurs just need a little help, Mr. Speaker, to cut a bigger slice of the global creative pie. Selections will be through an open call based on growth potential, entrepreneurship, and quality. The Jamaica Creative 100 program will be administered by the National Cultural and Creative Industries Council, which is now being operationalized in my ministry. The council will operate as an overarching, intersectoral, one-stop shop for targeted intervention in the creative sector. The NCCI, which is the acronym, among the deliverables are the establishment of a digital distribution and promotion platform for Jamaican music, video, and fashion. The establishment of a Kingston Creative Media Village for increased visibility and accessibility of creative practitioners. The establishment of the Creative Skills Council and Skills Bank, and the establishment of a Culture and Creative Industries Fund for Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, we are embarking on a program of deliberate promotion of the business of culture, the arts, and the creative economy. Recently, we staged the National Conference of Culture Clubs. The aim of the conference was to foster greater awareness of the economic value of creativity, the centrality of the creative economy to the national economy, and the importance of careers in the creative sector. We have to address, Mr. Speaker, the bias in the promotion of careers to young people. It is good and valuable to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, but it is equally good and valuable to be a creative professional, a songwriter, a singer, a producer, a sports person, a gender activist, or an archaeologist. The entertainment sector has been robust in the past year, Mr. Speaker. The JCF reported that 19,158 events were staged across the island last year. These events provided more than 30,000 temporary jobs. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is very aware of the value of entertainment since it collected a whopping $28 million from entertainment licenses. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation issues 33% of all entertainment licensing in Jamaica annually. Between 2013 and 2017, the value of entertainment to the economy was estimated to be 107 billion Jamaican dollars, or 836 million US. As impressive as that is, Mr. Speaker, we know it is an undervaluation since not all entertainment subsectors were accounted for. Over the period 2012 to 2017, 120,264 events were granted permits supporting Jamaica's status as a mecca for festivals. Mr. Speaker, during Reggae Month this past February, more than 70 reggae-related events were held in Kingston alone. Due to this uptick in music events, there was a 7% increase in visitor arrivals over the similar period last year. While the carnival period, Mr. Speaker, saw 45 events being held between November and April, with a 12.5% increase in visitor arrival over the similar period last year. This uptick in visitor arrivals and the subsequent direct and indirect spending in the economy is attributable to both Reggae Month and Carnival in Jamaica. Among the many things we are proud of as the entertainment portfolio supports the rise of Brand Jamaica is the designation of Kingston as the only Caribbean creative city of music. We partnered with UNESCO, Mr. Speaker, in staging a Creative Cities workshop during Reggae Month. 9 cities of music from the following countries joined us in Kingston at this workshop. I name the countries: Japan, South Korea, Sweden, United Kingdom, Portugal, Germany, Poland, and Australia. Earlier this year, my ministry, the Jamaica Music Museum, and the University of the West Indies staged the inaugural Imagine Kingston Conference, focused on research, data gathering, and case studies on the concept of creative cities and the capacity of creativity to spur urban regeneration. UNESCO, Mr. Speaker, has declared the conference as a global best practice, and my ministry, as a focal point for the program, presented the case study at the recently concluded UNESCO Creative Cities Conference in Poland that had participation from 181 countries. Mr. Speaker, as the Jamaican fashion industry rises to new heights of global recognition, and our models take center stage worldwide, the hosting of the various Style Weeks and the staging of unique fusion between Style Week and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation's Designer Incubation Program deserve our commendation and support. Mr. Speaker, we recognize the inadequacy of estate planning and benefit support within the entertainment sector. The families of several entertainers have found themselves in turmoil when many of our entertainers die and during moments of illness. Many of them don't think they will ever die, and so they never plan, and they leave their families in distress. In March this year, we staged an estate planning, pensions, and financing workshop for members of the music industry and other creative sectors. It was done in collaboration, Mr. Speaker, with the Development Bank of Jamaica, the Administrator General's Department, and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. This was a timely response, Mr. Speaker, to the passing of 18 entertainers between September 2016 and September 2017. We will announce details later this year on the entertainment industry insurance plan, which will be similar to the athletes' insurance scheme. We are working to regularize the entertainment sector, Mr. Speaker, and the following are some of the activities carried out. 223 individuals and 39 companies are now registered on the National Registry of Entertainment and Creative Industry Practitioners. This registry seeks to streamline the incentive process, allow for hassle-free movement across borders, and regularize creative practitioners, given the CARICOM heads of government mandate to develop a registry for service providers across the region. We processed 263 event extension applications for micro and small enterprises in 2017. And Mr. Speaker, I must explain. These extensions that we process, I'm sure you are very much familiar with those extensions. Once the police give the approval for an event and the licenses are paid to the parish council, my ministry sends in the request to the Jamaica Constabulary Force for extension of time to to hold these events. And I must tell Parliament that the acting speaker, the deputy speaker of the House, is one such person who has made use of the extension that is provided for this purpose. You serve your constituency well. This round robin, yes. This generated total direct, indirect, and induced linkages of more than $488 million and temporary employment for 4,528 people. The ministry recognizes the global commercial value of reggae, dancehall, ska, and other Jamaican genres, and the large number of international reggae festivals that pervade the global landscape. Mr. Speaker, we have identified more than 324 international reggae festivals across the world, including Rotterdam Sunsplash in Spain, Reggae Sunska in France, and Ostrada Reggae Festival, one of the oldest in Europe. We note their value as employment for Jamaican artists. During the summer, most of our artists go on tour. These festivals, their contribution to the global appeal of our branding activities and Destination Jamaica and to the national economy is recognized. In this regard, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport will continue a partnership with these various global festivals for quality assurance and control and to ensure greater coordination in the sale of creative goods and services, as well as the enhancement of these global circuits for the promotion and merchandising of Jamaican music products. We will continue to give tour support to our artists who perform at these events as a promotional tool to build brand Jamaica and Destination Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, I would like to report to this Honourable House on an archaeological find of significant national historic importance at White Marl, St. Catherine, where an archaeological team led by the Jamaican National Heritage Trust unearthed, among other things, 3 whole skeletons, 4 zemis, ceramic earthenware pottery sherds, and tools. The area known as White Marl has long been considered to be one of the most important prehistoric sites in Jamaica. Research indicates that the area was occupied for more than 600 years, between 900 and 1500 AD, that is 600 years after Christ, by the first Jamaicans, the Taínos, who were in the past mistakenly referred to as the Arawaks. Anthropologists and archaeologists now know that the people that met Columbus, Mr. Speaker, in 1492 were not the Arawaks, but were a people who called themselves Taínos, meaning noble or prudent people. This significant find adds to our understanding of and confirms our beliefs about the Taínos. You will see we have artifacts, some of the artifacts that were uncovered being displayed in the lobby. For instance, 2 of the skeletons were found with bowls, food bowls, buried with food bowls. And we think that these bowls were filled with food and buried with the deceased as part of the Taino tradition aimed at sustaining the spirit in the afterlife. The shells found at the site give us an idea of the diet of the Tainos, which include conch, clams, oyster, and land snails. The unusual burial positions are shedding new light on Taino belief systems and customs and the heritage of Jamaica. The priceless zemis And I must explain for those who don't know. Zemi is a sculpture or carving housing a spirit of the Taino people of the Caribbean. And I'll tell you a little story. On one occasion, when they unearthed a Taino carving, as they took it up out of the earth, there was a gush of wind and the rain and a downpour of rain. When they took that Zemi back to the trust and did the research, there was a tear from the eye of that Zemi. Wow. And from their research, that Zemi was considered a rain god. We have a priceless find that we have to protect. The priceless Zemis and other treasures found during this excavation belong to the Jamaican people and must be preserved and protected for future generations. Yes. In that regard, we are working to repatriate treasures that belong to Jamaica, which are in foreign countries. Yes, yes. For example, in 1792, 3 Taino Zemis were recovered from a cave in Carpenter's Mountain in Manchester by a British surveyor and taken overseas, where they remain in the British Museum until today. We tried to borrow them for an exhibition and was told that they would have to be insured for millions of dollars. As part of the plan, Mr. Speaker, to protect and repatriate, we have begun preparatory work towards Jamaica's ratification of 2 international conventions to deal with the illicit trafficking of cultural heritage. Yes, bring them home. The UNESCO Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property, and the UNIDROIT Convention on Stolen or illegally exported cultural objects. Additionally, we will be amending the Jamaica National Heritage Trust Act, as the existing legislation does not address trade in cultural material per se, and all cultural material are not protected under the JNHD Act. And I must tell you, Mr. Speaker, we have had calls from the airport, from immigration and customs, where persons have been caught leaving Jamaica with important artifacts that belong to us. I wish to commend the team of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, the Leiden University of the Netherlands, and the Department of History and Archaeology at UWI-Mona, who are collaborating on the excavations. I now speak to a subject dear to the heart of my colleague from Central, Clarendon. He is very passionate about reparations. In the same way we take action in this House to clear the names of our national heroes and freedom fighters, we must also take action to ensure that reparations are paid for all that our ancestors endured under the evil system of slavery, having been brought to this island in chains and branded like animals. We must pursue reparation. The great wrong must be set right. To those who would say slavery was a long time ago and we should simply move on, I point them to the debilitating impact of slavery even today. More than 300 years of oppression and brutality have left lasting scars, whether in the low self-esteem reflected in our behaviors within our communities, within our population, such as bleaching until we can't enjoy the rays of the Jamaican sun, or high levels of violence and crime. The residues of slavery continue. The National Council on Reparation, which is located in my ministry, is reviewing the evidentiary basis of the demand for reparatory justice or reparatory justice from Britain for native genocide, African enslavement, deceptive Indian indentureship, other colonial injustices, and the continuing legacies of colonialism. At the same time, we are building a strong grassroots movement, including our young people, who we cannot ignore in our determination that reparations must be paid. Mr. Speaker, I take seriously the responsibility given to me by Prime Minister Andrew Holness to carry out the program of reparations and relief to the Rastafari elders who suffered in the Coral Gardens incident of 1963. Since the Prime Minister's apology on behalf of the government of Jamaica last year in Parliament, we have built a positive working relationship with the Rastafari community. We are committed to national support for the 21 elders so far identified by the Office of the Public Defender. My ministry has already transferred a sum of $12 million to the Administrator General as trustee to establish a Rastafari Trust Fund. And Mr. Speaker, we are committed to transfer $30 million annually over the next 3 years to ensure the sustainability of the fund. Coming out of deliberations, I'll be having discussions with the Minister of Education, Youth and Information to create 3 annual scholarships at primary, secondary and tertiary levels to provide benefits to the wider national Rastafari community. I'm also setting up a mechanism to more effectively manage communication with the Rastafari community, similar to the Reparations Secretariat in my ministry. And I must tell you, Mr. Speaker, that I had discussions yesterday with the Minister of National Security, whose constituency the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society reside. And he has made arrangements for land to be provided as well as office space for the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society and the community in his constituency. Jamaica continues, Mr. Speaker, its global leadership in regional and international sport. Today, we commend all our elite sportsmen and women who have been sustaining our global presence. I pay tribute to the many coaches and clubs, such as Racers and MVP, as well as to the G.C. Foster College of Physical Education and Sport, the University of Technology, and the University of the West Indies, which have also been branding Jamaica as a destination for sports training and development, attracting athletes, Mr. Speaker, from over 20 countries to our shores. I applaud the private sector companies and individuals who provide the platform for our elite athletes to be able to fully concentrate on their craft and brand Jamaica as a strong and exciting sports nation. I invite this Honourable House at this time to acclaim the Honourable Usain St. Leopold, the world's most legendary athlete, on his retirement. The government of Jamaica is proud to have installed the Bolt statue at the National Stadium on behalf of a grateful nation. It is our hope that this monument will not only serve as a tribute to Usain Bolt, but even more so as an inspiration to our young upcoming athletes. Since mounted, Independence Park has had a record number of visitors to the complex to see and be photographed beside the statue. 2 Saturdays ago, Mr. Speaker, I had the pleasure of presenting the maquette of Shelly Ann's statue to the nation. I reported this House that she's happy with the design, and we are now in the process of scheduling a date for the installation of the life-size statue at Independence Park by the last quarter of this calendar year. The statues of Veronica Campbell-Brown and Asafa Powell are also on track for completion and installation. Those will complete the creation of 4 statues as part of the Jamaica 55 Legacy Program.
Speaker's time has expired, House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the member's time be extended by 15 minutes to enable her to complete her presentation.
Half an hour.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Ms. Grange.
Half an hour, we're in no rush.
No. But I do that too. Right. Mr. Speaker, in the field of football, I am pleased that we were able to come to an amicable resolution that saw Theodore Tapper Whitmore reinstated as the national coach of the Reggae Boys. We congratulate the boys on their rise to the top 50 in the world ratings and their exceptional performance in last year's CONCACAF Gold Cup, where they finished second. We continue to work closely with the JFF on the development of the national program. Mr. Speaker, I also highlight the following successes. The Sunshine Girls finished second in the Fast 5 World Netball Series that featured the top nations in the sport. At the Commonwealth Games in April 2018, Team Jamaica won 27 medals, the most we have ever won. Of commendation was our outstanding performance in the field events and the middle distance and long distance races at that event. In rugby, 5 teams qualified to participate in regional and international competitions, including the Commonwealth Games and Rugby Sevens, both for the first time. In chess, Jamaica hosted the sub-zonal tournament, a world championship qualifying event. And for the first time, our own Shane Matthews won to become only the second Jamaican international master in chess. And during the year, 15-year-old Joshua Christie won the CAC Youth Championship in Panama and became the youngest FIDE master in Jamaica's history. During the year, Jasmine Finlater Victorian, Kerry Russell, and Audra Sigree became the first Jamaican woman to qualify for and represent our nation in the bobsled competition at the Winter Olympics. Mr. Speaker, I now speak of anti-doping. I wish to highlight that 2 doping control officers from the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission were selected by the organizing committee to participate in the 2018 Winter Olympics under the International Doping Control Program. JADCO also entered into a contract with the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport in March of this year to provide doping control services and vice versa. Those activities were undertaken as part of our program to strengthen the National Anti-Doping in Sport program. Additionally, we continue to perform routine tests with more than 500 conducted over the past year. Mr. Speaker, Jamaica is firmly against doping in sports and will intensify our anti-doping education program for athletes and their support teams. I introduce this next section with one powerful image that signals outstanding prowess and the need to nurture and manage the transition of young athletes to elite status. At the recently concluded Jamaica International Invitational, we watched in awe, Mr. Speaker, as one of our outstanding junior athletes branded Jamaica again as legendary when he outshone such international senior stars as Onaso Jobadwana of South Africa and LaShawn Merritt of the United States of America at 200 meters. Mr. Speaker, I speak of this outstanding Christopher Taylor.
Yes.
He outshone everyone at the National Junior and Senior Championships recently to easily win the 400 meters, running in the seniors race to set a new national junior record and a new personal best. And over the weekend, he equaled the national junior 100 meters record at the National Stadium in the Under-18 International Invitational Meet. Mr. Speaker, Christopher Taylor is one of a kind.
Yes.
One of a kind. So many of our junior athletes continue to shine. We commend their outstanding performance in the recent Carifta Games, where Brianna Williams won the Austin Seeley Award for being the most impressive athlete of the championships. In swimming, Jamaica topped the point standing among the girls for the first time in a long time, with the combined boys and girls team placing third overall. And we cannot overlook our continued success at the Penn Relays and outstanding performances in other sports, such as badminton and table tennis.
Yes, well.
We must commend the performances in the annual Boys and Girls Championship, which has sustained its branding as the most outstanding global event at that level in organization and performance. Commendations to ISA as well. Mr. Speaker, our children should take part in and develop a love of sport and physical activity, but in circumstances that guarantee their safety, protection, and overall well-being. One of the priorities this year is to finalize a policy and regulatory framework for safeguarding our children in sport. We must ensure that children in sport are not harmed in any way, are able to enjoy sport and make participation in sporting activity a way of life, and are in the care of fit and proper people, not being exposed to any form of abuse. I've established a task force geared at facilitating the coordination of existing and planned initiatives, adopting best practices, and developing mechanisms for monitoring and evaluating policies relative to the safeguarding and protection of children in sport. So, Speaker, we are working to sustain the high levels of performance with Jamaican sport by retrofitting and improving the infrastructure to create the right environment for training and development. 128 million, or I should say, a little over 128 million, has been allocated to the Sport Development Foundation for the purpose of upgrading our facilities. The works will see improvement to the National Stadium, the layout of synthetic basketball courts at stadium courts, and upgrading of fields across the country. And it includes some of the facilities that members of Parliament have approached me in assisting in the development of those facilities. Time does not permit for me to name them. In addition, we will continue to fund the granting of access to the national sports facilities to our national teams, including netball, basketball, aquatics, track and field, gymnastics, badminton, taekwondo, volleyball, table tennis, and rugby. An amount of $48 million has been allocated to Independence Park Limited to fund access to the facilities by national teams. This year, the 44 national sports associations and federations will benefit from a subvention of $189 million in total. The planned development of the national sport infrastructure will also assist in our efforts to establish Jamaica as a destination for international sport. Mr. Speaker, last year we hosted several international events: Racers Grand Prix, Jamaica International Invitational Meet, International Professional Boxing, the inaugural Jamaica Classic College Basketball Tournament, which has a large following in the United States. We will be hosting the Jamaica Classic again this year at the Montego Bay Convention Center, November 16 to 18. All the games, Mr. Speaker, will be broadcast live on CBS Sports Network. There will be more than 44 million people across the United States viewing these games. And this is being done in collaboration with the Jamaica Tourist Board. Mr. Speaker, this year we will have an increase in the number of teams that participated last year. More room nights for hoteliers in the city. Last year, there were 1,000 room nights booked just by the organizers, not to mention the visitors who came as fans. As an added treat, we'll welcome home the great Patrick Ewing, the Jamaican Basketball Hall of Fame personality, who is currently the head coach for Georgetown University, which will participate in the Jamaican Classic for the first time. Patrick Ewing has been an inspiration and role model for so many of our local basketball players, and we look forward to welcoming him home in November. Recently, I met with the new Director General of UNESCO, and we are currently in discussion with the organization as well as other international bodies to identify sporting opportunities for Jamaica. I shared with the Director General my vision to see Jamaica lead the charge in creating a mechanism for regional cooperation focused on enhancing the contribution of sport to sustainable development in the Caribbean and sports for peace. This includes collating and producing research and evidence on these contributions. Mr. Speaker, we are reaping the benefits of our sport diplomacy. Through bilateral cooperation, we aim to enhance the capacity of the national sport infrastructure, talent, and administration. I now report on the Jamaica-China Technical Coaching Project based on agreements between our two countries. In January of this year, we welcomed to Jamaica a 9-member team from the People's Republic of China, including 7 coaches for the following disciplines: women's football, women's volleyball, women's basketball, badminton, gymnastics, swimming, and synchronized swimming. The team observed and worked with local association and stage coaching clinics at the G.C. Foster College. Mr. Speaker, we are now in the second phase of the project, where a delegation of approximately 140 Jamaicans, comprising athletes, coaches, managers, and administrators, will travel to China this month for a period of 60 days for specialized training and competition. The first batch left the island last Saturday. And in addition, we will receive a donation of equipment in all the sporting disciplines from China. The program cost the government of China an estimated $8.5 million US, and the cost to the government of Jamaica is about $300,000 US. I'm sure the House will join me in expressing our gratitude to the government of the People's Republic of China. Mr. Speaker, I wish to report on efforts to reform the Institute of Sports in sports as part of the strengthening of our sports governance structure. Upon my return to government in 2016, I received a draft of the Auditor General's special audit on the Institute of Sports, which was later tabled in this House. The special audit showed an organization that was continually breaking the law, badly managed, and in need of urgent transformation. We have taken corrective action, and I can say that InSports is now building a culture of a well-run, accountable organization that gives value to the people of Jamaica. The new InSports management team has reported that the agency is now adhering to government regulations, guidelines, and procedures. All outstanding statutory deductions and other staff deductions have been paid up. And of the controversial $80 million in arrears owed to the pension fund, the sum of $40 million have now been paid over to the pension fund administrator, and they are working to settle the matters. However, Mr. Speaker, some issues uncovered at the Institute of Sports require further investigation, and I will repeat. some issues uncovered at the Institute of Sports require further investigation. I now inform this Honorable House that the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency, MOCA, is conducting an investigation into irregularities uncovered at the agency. Therefore, I am unable to give any further details. Mr. Speaker, I wish to quickly give an update on the establishment of the National Sports Museum. We have been doing preparatory work for the establishment of the museum in both virtual and physical spaces. We have completed a strategic business plan assisted by the Canadian Sport Museum and Hall of Fame. In the meantime, we have developed content for the museum, including audiovisual features on some of our standing sports personalities, including George Leslie Bonnie Grant, Linda Della Penna, and Stephanie Taylor. We have conducted a textile conservation and preservation training workshop to ensure that the skill set is in place to handle the requirements of the museum, particularly in the preservation and management of artifacts. Just.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we ask that the member be given 5 minutes to complete her presentation.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, we have intensified, thank you, Mr. Speaker, our procuring and soliciting of memorabilia for the museum and will be launching a collection drive later this year. We will also be digitizing the artifacts towards creating a virtual museum in the short term while we build out the physical structure. Mr. Speaker, I now want to move to gender. I now turn to gender issues which are not about just women. Gender issues are about men and women, yes, boys and girls, and how we will live as equals in harmony to build our country. And I want to speak directly to men, Mr. Speaker, including those in this honorable House, because we need to engage our men in solving some of our most pressing gender issues. Just recently, UN Women, the Inter-American Development Bank, and Statistical Institute of Jamaica collaborated with my ministry to publish the findings of the Women's Health Survey. The survey was really about collecting information on the nature and prevalence of gender-based violence in Jamaica. And what did the data show? That 1 in every 4 women in Jamaica has experienced physical violence by a male partner. The acts of violence include slapping, we call it Jamaica box down the woman, beating with fists, which we mean them the man thump her, pushing, which means the man choke her, and attacking with a weapon, sometimes a gun.
What about the woman who thumped down the man?
That a quarter of women had been sexually abused, Mr. Speaker, by men who are not their intimate partners. That the majority of these perpetrators were known to the women. They were friends or acquaintances.
Shameful.
That 1 out of every 5 women reported being sexually abused before reaching 18 years old.
Tragic.
The main perpetrators were family and friends.
What about the women who beat men?
While the majority of victims... You're taking up my time.
Leave Natalie alone.
While the majority of... I'm going to need extra time, Mr. Speaker. While the majority of victims of domestic abuse may not make a report to the authorities, they do talk about their experience. 8 out of every 10 victims say they shared their experience with friends, families, and neighbors. But too many of us, Mr. Speaker, including men in positions of influence, do nothing. The National Strategic Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence has a series of actions to prevent violence, protect and deliver adequate services to victims, and to deal with perpetrators appropriately. Today, I call on men across Jamaica to take a leadership role in ending gender-based violence. Men have a unique power to influence their brother, their friend, their colleague, their brethren, their son, to change violent behaviors and protect women and girls everywhere. Mr. Speaker, I urge every man and woman with influence in this House and across the nation to take a stand. Do something about the domestic violence that you know goes on next door, or do your part to remove every woman and every man from abusive situations. Mr. Speaker, I quickly touch on a very sensitive topic: sexual harassment. 1 in every 4 women report that she has been sexually harassed during her lifetime. This underscores the importance of the anti-sexual harassment legislation that I'm determined to have passed by this House. The victims of harassment, men and women, have been waiting for this bill, and they expect us to get it right. The Ministry of Justice originally had carriage of the anti-sexual harassment bill. Sometime after the change of administration, the bill came to my ministry. We examined it as against the drafting instructions and discovered that one of the drafting instructions, a hostile working environment, was not present among the proposers. For that reason, the bill was returned to the Office of the Chief Parliamentary Counsel along with the drafting instructions. It was thereafter sent back to my ministry. We had to begin a consultative process with the ministries that were designated special responsibilities under the bill, especially the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. We received extensive constructive critique of the bill from our sister ministry, which helped us to reformulate and revise certain provisions. We dealt with the challenges that were involved, and today I am happy to report to this House that the Cabinet has passed the policy and the proposed bill, which I will lay on the table of the House. I anticipate a robust debate on both sides of this House as we together send a strong message that sexual harassment has no place, anywhere, anytime in our country. Mr. Speaker, 1 out of every 2 women who has been abused by her intimate partner never leave home. The reasons are varied and complex, but many women simply do not have a safe place to go. For this reason, we included the establishment of national shelters as part of the Jamaica 55 Legacy Program. And I'm pleased to report today that Cabinet has approved the purchase of a property for use as a national shelter in rural Jamaica. Yes. We have completed the purchase and will have the shelter operational very soon. Mr. Speaker, I have the keys. Yes. It's rare.
We have the keys.
I have the keys. I'm also pleased to report that the crisis shelter owned by the government and operated by Women Inc. was refurbished, retrofitted, and reopened through partnership with USAID on the International Day of the Girl Child in October last year. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I want to highlight Yashika Brooks, one of the many adolescent mothers who have not been left behind. She took the advantage of the services offered at the Women's Center and is now set to advance herself through a nursing career. Yes. She was only 14 when she began pregnant. She was forced to leave school, suffered isolation, discrimination, emotional turmoil, and abuse from her community, friends, and family. But she was determined to excel, believing that her life should not end with pregnancy. And as she progressed in high school, advanced to 6th form, she was able to get assistance. 2 minutes. She was able to get assistance.
How much time more you need so that the leader of government business can afford you some extra time?
Mr. Speaker, I'm closing.
Minister.
We have
Mr. Samuda.
Mr. Speaker, we have introduced a program to assist these young girls who cannot stay in school. It's called the A-Stream program. And it is now seen as a best practice program. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I commit to you #Mission 2018, from branded to branding for sustainable prosperity, brand Jamaica on the rise. And in so doing, I seek the support and involvement of all Jamaica. I lead, Mr. Speaker, by example. I'm available to all my stakeholders, and in the words of Queen Africa, you can call me by my name. I'm ready to roll. Call me anytime. This lioness, like brand Jamaica, is on the rise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.